What up, friends? This is Light Cheek Punis with Top Tier Tiers, finishing up our Gurren Lagann set review. Only like, I don't know, 6 weeks late, seven. Oh, it's actually been a lot more than that, hasn't it? That was like a hyperbole joke, but then it turned out that wasn't hyperbole. We're just actually really slow. But yeah, for the sake of making this fairly short, let's get introductions. So we've got with me as well. It's infrequent now, but El Press is here.
Yes,
And
because
then
real
we have,
life calls.
yes. Then we have Tim Tom, the blatantly trying to usurp my cardboard throne.
What? The car. Okay.
All right. So look, since this is odd because this is the first time we've like interrupted a set review with another set review because of timing. We didn't do anything last weekend because it was like Pokemon Regionals or something garbage like that. And yeah, so we're just gonna continue on with Gurren Lagann, start going with yellow. So I don't know what's on the screen right now. Are we doing the TD cards first? Or...
Yes, we are. 1 second.
Alright. Well, you're gonna have to screen share. I'm going to assume the runner is
It is the runner.
It's a 002K free runner. It is the relevant trait of Gurren. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say about this card. It's a runner. It gives you pluses. It fixes for yellow. It's like playable plus.
Yeah.
It's all that.
Yeah.
They put 2 of this in a trial deck, so get 2 trial decks if you intend to play this. This isn't actually stable in like every deck. Like the detached deck will rather run Lagann impacts. But most other decks would prefer the runner when it comes to plussing level 0 turn 1 plays. Okay,
Yes.
what's the next card we got? Alright, I don't actually know the name of this card, but it's Yoko, 2-1
On the
support.
cruel surface.
Okay, on the cruel surface, Yoko is a 2-1-5-5, gives all of your other Gurren characters 1000 power, from what I recall, and when you play it from hand to stage, you may discard a card from hand. If you do... Clapping noise. Alright. When you place this from hand to stage, you may pay the cost of discarding a card. If you do, choose one of your opponent's back row characters, cost 0 or lower, and put it in stock.
Wait, you have to put it in stock?
Yeah, you put it in stock.
And it doesn't, and the bottom card doesn't come out?
Just give them 1 stock.
Is this like a 2012 card?
2010, I believe.
The
But
hell?
yeah,
That's not...
worth-
What the heck?
it's worth mentioning because some people go completely, ape shit without their brainstorm. But other than that, I don't think there's a great deal. Like if maybe you're playing against red schoolgirl strikers or something ridiculous.
Oh
like
man.
that.
Or a Triad Primus.
Does that even do anything? They always have an extra brainstorm.
Nah, you can say that about any deck though.
Oh, I mean,
Especially if you give him a
can't-
stock with which to get back
Well,
their
they can't brainstorm. They need a brainstorm anyway. I thought I'd mention this card because if you're trying to preserve pre-time skip and post-time skip canon deck construction like I am, you have no choice but to play this. And
This
it's not a real reason.
seems not very good.
It's not.
No, it's not. Why does it send it to stock? Holy Jesus.
It's a 2010 card.
Niche
What is it?
minus or something.
No, not even that. It's just
No.
not a good.
Wanna call it bad? Why are we even covering
No.
this card? Holy.
It's not a bad. It's not a bad card. It's like playable minus.
Playable minus. Ugh.
Niche minus. I
Bad
don't know.
plus?
It's actually like.
Bad plus.
If I would, oh my god. Strictly speaking, I think this is strictly outclassed by the Leron support. So
That meets her definition.
I think bad is actually the correct definition.
Why are we covering this card? Oh my god.
This is the first quote unquote bad card that I've ever played unironically in a deck.
Okay.
What a glowing endorsement.
I have used the second ability once. It was only to ditch a climax.
Alright.
What was it used for?
Did your climax?
Oh,
And
that
put a
was little.
brainstorm.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Okay,
Okay, what's
that's
next?
We're in the TD. We're in the booster now.
Sure. So, this is Yoko.
Unexpected
Unexpected
kiss.
Kiss. Yeah, 0015. It's a tap 2 brainstorm to search for Daigoren trait characters, and it has, during your turn, the character in the front row center gains 500 and hexproof, so it can't be chosen by opponent's effects. Look, honestly speaking, this and the Simone brainstorm from Red are pretty interchangeable. The only real difference I've noticed in gameplay is that if you only have like one back row suitable card, then the Simone is better because you don't need to tap two characters. And that's, I mean, that's just a really generalized thing to say. Like, that's basically the only objective advantage it
It's
has.
probably more relevant at level 0.
Yes, at level 0, if you don't have like a booster or something as well to
Yeah.
tap, you preferably don't want to be brainstorming at 0. Like, this deck has a wiki clone. Like, you have ways to spend stock if you need to. But certainly, I personally have been more happy with the Simone brainstorm than this one. But at the same time, I haven't extensively tested this in the decks I'm running Simone in. I've just run decks with both, and Simone's been better. That's all. But Simone is a girl's name. This is the worst.
Is
I
the
don't know.
hexproof worth anything?
I I don't think it's worth a great deal. There is a specific so the finisher, the red finisher. I don't know if you're here for red. I can't remember. It's been too long. But the red finisher disallows counters. It doesn't disallow events. So if for like I think it's actually 2 cards down or something. All there's a finisher level 3 heal that you just play in every yellow deck. It gives a finishing ability to another character. So if you stack everything onto like the center front row, then they make them hexproof. Then you can get your on reverse stuff off pretty consistently. So it's worth more than nothing. But even so, like it's not a significant game changer. Whereas with the other brainstorm, whose other effect is global support to market characters, in certain decks that not market characters, market Daigo and Dun characters, sorry. For those decks, that is actually like a deciding factor in what you pick.
Sure.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I don't think it's a big change. I don't think it's a big deal. You could argue that you can make it. I mean, hexproof in your turn is basically only anti-change and like money counters. I don't think there's very much else that matters.
Well, that's generally speaking where the hexproof is worth the most, though. Is against those kind of effects, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, sure, but then there's like wind triggers and other sorts of selection. Honestly speaking, you are right, but I don't think that the hexproof is worth very much. It's not come up for me, and I've played against plenty of like anti-change counters and stuff. Usually, I just don't care. Yeah, I don't think it's been relevant. So I'm giving this I'm gonna give it like a playable plus, probably. I like Simone better, personally.
like it's a brainstorm.
It is the brainstorm. You're not wrong. It's not like a super great brainstorm or anything. It's just a brainstorm.
Like, you'll take it. Like, it doesn't take much for a brainstorm to make most lists.
Agreed. But there is a competing brainstorm, which is arguably better, if not straight up better, based on preference. All right, next card. Oh boy, not you. All right, so this is Kamino is the sad card. It is a 1045. During your turn, if you have another Daigo Endun character, it's 6k power. And when the battle opponent is reversed, if you have Later Body or Arbayo Dachko in your climax zone, and you have another Daigo Endun character, you get the Shimikaze effect, so you get to search your deck for a Daigo Endun character, add it to your hand, and then this gains the following ability till the next end of your opponent's turn. when this is attacked, if there are 2 or fewer cards in your memory, send this to memory. So that's not optional. That is requisite. Even if they side attack with a 0, like a 500 power 0.
Man, why would they
this goes-
side attack though?
I'm giving you an example. So they can front attack with like a level 0, and then this just goes to memory. So they get a free front attack. You don't have any chance to defend, and because Gurren Lagann has next to no cards that go to memory, except like at level 0 they do have like a green memory Ricky type effect. Not Ricky, it's like a green on reverse. Search a green card. That's like the only other memory effect of relevance. This is like the only thing that goes to memory. So basically, this always goes to memory. It's very rare that this does not end up going to memory. It should be noted that if you don't get the reverse, or if you just attack an empty row, this does not get that clause. So you can't like play the climax, attack on an empty lane, and then expect to deny your opponent's reverses. I'm jumping ahead a little. So what do you guys think of this ability, like forced memory fly?
I'm not completely familiar with the full set. I see the 3/2 indicated, so I'm imagining that card cares if this is in memory.
Okay, so what that does is the 3/2 has an additional startup effect where you can pay 1 and put this card from memory underneath it, and it gains a temporary power boost and a temporary nullification of normal character counters.
Wait, how does that work?
So
You just take
it
the
gains
thing in memory, and it gets it for like a turn cycle. So it gets it until the end of your opponent's next turn. Power
Okay.
and like anti-backup.
and your opponent cannot use backups in battles involving this.
Oh,
Yep.
sure, okay. Is it just backups, or is
Just
it against
backups.
as well?
Just backups.
So less good than I was hoping. Like it would be.
And it's an on reverse burn as well, so money counter is as potent as ever.
Yeah.
This is not the finisher of choice, probably in a lot. Well,
Nah, doesn't
yeah.
sound like it.
So
There is no good finisher unless you, well, we can get to the quote-unquote good finisher, but this is not a particularly good finisher, no. You might play this anyway because it's like incidental compression, and it is a Shimakaze, and it is 7k on attack, like not the worst, and you do have ways to pump the power a lot. And, for whatever it's worth, if you do get to level 1 first and you get reverses, your opponent they're not able to get reverses on this because it just goes straight to memory, so you're denying their on reverse effects. But
it's pretty situational. That's like pretty meta dependent now.
agreed,
More
it's
so than it
completely-
was like a few years ago.
It's completely meta dependent. Like it's always meta dependent.
Well,
Like
there used
if
to be
it wa-
less good like on attack combos.
Yeah, I mean,
And
as
now
far as
there are a lot more. So
like, this is not a terrible on reverse combo though. Like, I like it. I like being able to randomly deny my opponent's pluses.
the problem is you
but
don't ever get to
sometimes-
reuse this of a beta.
yeah, and
And like I get it. Like 4/5 is not big. You do have a 2k counter, but that's not saving the card in most circumstances. But at the same time, like it's nice to be able to recycle this. Like there is actually a 1/1 encore support. So if this didn't just go to memory like forever, then you could actually think about recycling it in the same way that you used to recycle Mikans into Loveru via encore, and then repeating the combo. That would have been an avenue for this deck to be a bit stronger than it currently is. So that's the downside. You don't get to reuse this combo quite as effectively. That being said, I have had turns where I go Kamina, on reverse, search up another Kamina because I had the climax in my hand, search up another Kamina, climax in my hand, or like search up some sort of support because I drew another Kamina already or something. Like that's something I have done and is not completely out of the question. I do think it still makes like it puts a lot of obstacles in the way of something that most other decks would just do without an issue. And I do think that's enough to make this more annoying than any other like any given Shimakaze Mikan type combo. And I don't think denying on reverses is really all it's cracked up to be. Like it's nice against, well, Sunshine's not a deck anymore, and like most quote unquote good decks now aren't even, they don't rely on getting reverses anyway. Like I can't even think of a like a top tier deck that has that sort of requirement.
Attack on
Like
Titan.
Attack on Titan specifically, sure.
Yeah.
Anything else? Like I'm not counting Saikano because I don't think the meta build of that runs anything on reverse. And then you have to go all the way down to stuff like, well, I guess Talavru. Like Talavru and Syntho Gear, and like, you're going a fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that denying on reverse stuff is quite as worthwhile, especially when your opponent can just not play their combo and attack with like chump zeros, and then when you attack back, because you really don't have very much else in the way of powerful level 1 plays, they just delay their combo by 1 turn. So, and obviously the incidental compression is whatever. It's not that special. I'm still going to give this a playable plus. I don't think the downside is so great that it makes this like a terrible card, because it's completely costless. It is incidental compression, and it does occasionally deny on reverse stuff. But I do think that I would be perfectly fine if this card did not have that clause, or if it was optional. If it was optional, then that would be actively beneficial.
Yes.
I don't know about great, and
Well,
I don't
it would
think
be
it'll
great compared. It's just like gravy, right? As opposed to
no, it's a strict improvement. Like it's
Yeah.
more than gravy. Like it's a strict improvement.
Yeah.
Because even like if they just make an attack, because your opponent has no good outcomes. Either they ram into something that dies, or if they try to attack with something that would kill it, you just deny the reverse. So
Right.
it would be a strict better card. Not enough to elevate Gurren Lagann any higher in the tier list, but certainly a lot better than what it is now. And I think Bushiroad recognizes that. That's why they made it forced, because it might actually be a bit dangerous to make. Anyway,
I think it's
what do
just
you
playable.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine, because I do think
yeah, its benefit. I think the memory part just requires like really specific meta conditions to be like a desirable part of the card. So
well, when it's desirable, it's very strong. Anyway, let's
Yeah,
move
of course.
on. Next.
yeah,
This is just Yoko, right?
just
She
Yoko.
doesn't have all those other additional cards. 3295. It's an advanced summon if your 2 or fewer climaxes in your waiting room. When this is placed from hand to stage, you may heal. So it's an advanced summon heal. And then when this attacks, give another character the following ability. On reverse, pay 1, ditch 1. If you do, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So here's the thing about this card. It is extremely over-spec. Like, it is a heal. It can be played as an advanced summon. Admittedly, not a particularly beefy one, but it can be played as an advanced summon. With some support, it has field presence. And then it just has this non-committal, almost free extra damage condition that you can or cannot pay based on the state of the field and the state of your hand and your opponent's damage. So it is, by any objective measure, stacked. And I don't just... look, there's bad jokes to be made here, but let's ignore them for now. It is, simply put, a very, very powerful card. So why don't I actually think that when I play it? That's my question I have, and the question I'm posing to you. All right, so to give some context,
well, the deck,
go for it.
The deck can't reasonably sustain paying that cost at level 2, and it can't. I think that's just it. Like a big part of the time, the cards on the board, the burn ability just isn't text because the deck doesn't generate enough resources.
Yeah, you don't
just
burn
by
them
paying
too.
that cost. Yeah, like
you don't burn them too. Like you just don't. That's not something that happens. This
so,
is like
yeah,
a
it's just an
level.
early play healer.
This is ironically a level 2 play, right? It's a level 2 play. You have like a level X behind it. It's 11k. You can maybe protect it with a counter. And sometimes you give the ability and you attack with that other card, and then they trigger a climax, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll pay it out, and then I'll ditch this card I don't need. That's cool. But other than that, it doesn't do anything until like the ending turns of the game, which
Yes.
is like when you go to attack with like Misakuro, you don't just pay the cost without thinking. Like if it's not an appropriate time, you just don't do that. This card is even better than that because you don't even have to like you don't have to think about that. You just reverse them, and then if it's beneficial for you to pay it, then you do it. If it's not, then you don't. And that's huge. Like that's a really powerful effect. It's just even with all of this, I'm like, this
I'm,
card is fine.
this is like going back. I remember talking about Railgun before the power pack, and the problem with Misakuro wasn't that the card was bad. It was just that if she's the main plan, it's just not good enough.
It's not quite enough.
Yeah,
You know?
a great incident, a great spot up healer, right? You play
Yeah.
like certain numbers of this card to heal when you need to heal, and then great, you get like pretty good value. But like, I don't know, people stopped early playing Misakuro a while ago too, so uh, even if this is
This
like a
card,
strictly better version of that play, it's just like not that
this card just
notable.
doesn't have like presence on the board. I It's the same problem I had with Eris. Well, Eris turned out to be this card that everyone abuses, but I don't think this is comparable because at least Eris had a ceiling. Like it was a significant impact when you did the restand early, and you could do it multiple times. Whereas with this, I don't think it's worth it. And like it also doesn't stay on the board. Again, same problem as Eris, and Eris still sucks in terms of being field presence. And this sucks in terms of being field presence. And as a result, despite the fact that it's a really it's a really strong level 3. It has all these desirable effects. But again, I think it's spread too thin. I think it does all of these different things when it could be better served doing like one role better. Like if instead of a heal, it was a check top 3, that might actually be better. Because we have so many healers in this set, right? Or if it was instead of being an advanced summon, it had like come and play burn or something else like that.
Whew.
That would make that would make this card so much better. But
I
unfortunately, it just doesn't have that.
I generally like a lot of my cards to be generally like more specialized in role. I find that it tends to be a little bit more effective that way. Like there's so much
I
tutoring and filtering that you can do in Weiss in general that if you need that kind of effect, you'll be able to find it. But like if this is like just an early play healer with upside, that seems fine,
yeah.
right? Like if you're treating it like that, that seems totally reasonable.
I mean, you could also just treat it as like your healer, and that's like okay. But mm,
Look, I'm calling this card playable plus because I don't think it does anything strongly enough to warrant a higher rating. I do think it goes into like most decks that play yellow.
it is your
Well,
best
all
healer,
decks.
right?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is your best healer, and I don't think that's disputable.
yeah. I think I agree with playable plus.
Yeah, playable plus seems fine.
All right. So I pulled 6 of this card from 6
You should be
boxes.
glad. This scene is
I'm
awesome.
very Yeah, it's a great scene. This climax combo is hella flavorful, and I am a like this character comes into his own in this scene. So uh, I'm still a Gurren Lagann fan. This is Kitan, Dachiko, or whatever it is he says. Wait, what does he say? This is Ite Kuruze, Yado Domo. So he's saying I'm on his way. He's on his way. Anyway, come and play, check top 3, add 1 to your hand. So the idea is to get the climax, obviously, and maybe ditch the King Kitan, and it has a climax combo. At the end of this card's attack, so you don't have to beat your opponent. In fact, if you have Kitan die against your opponent, then it's arguably more flavorful. Um, at the end of this card's attack, if you have, so this is the power of the spiral, it's a shot trigger in the climax zone, and damage dealt by this was cancelled, you may pay 1 and ditch card from hand and sack this card. If you do, choose a King Kitan in your waiting room, the 004K you see there, and put it in any slot on stage. So it's obviously mirroring the show where I'm not gonna. Well, I don't know how you can have this set and not have watched Gurren Lagann. There's something wrong with you if that's the case. But basically, this is a very flavorful card. It's a serviceable finisher. Again, I don't think it's good enough to take up a climax slot, especially when it's a climax as largely ineffectual as a shot climax. And this card itself is like, it's fine. It's not great. It's whatever.
Yeah.
It does warrant like a pretty heavy commitment because, personally speaking, I prefer playing runners over 4Ks. You might be different, I don't know, but I think that the runner is better than the 4K because in this particular set, it's much important to just get your own advantage. If your opponent happens to have a bomb and denies your card from getting advantage, the card is set. So that's my opinion. That's something that pretty extensively, but so yeah, it's the opportunity cost is mostly just the climax slot because the shot climax is great.
Yeah.
Say this is like a niche card because I don't see it going anywhere that you're not playing the shot climax. Like you could put it in like an all male deck or like some sort of Kitan pseudo waifu. There's not really level 1 to go with it unless you're putting Kaimine in as well. Say.
I think it's.
Oh,
I would call it. I think I'd call it playable. Actually, I think it's fine.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think there's like, well, the gate combo has a better trigger, and then there's a stock soul with a better finishing effect.
But the stock soul, that stock soul is like even more commitment.
Yeah, but
than this would be.
The effect is good enough. Like this is a somewhat cheap quote-unquote restand, but it's not really good by any stretch. I guess something else I should add is if Kitan's if Kitan's normal attack goes through, but then you like added a burn on him with Yoko, and then that burn is cancelled, then that counts as activating this effect. So if you want to think about it like that.
I just think it's a fairly serviceable finisher.
Yeah,
So.
you're doing like the old, like Cinderella Girls had this, a bunch of other sets have these kind of like. Oh,
Yeah.
but I guess you have to get someone has to have damage canceled.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
if
likely to
damage
happen.
is this card's
Or they
3+
don't cancel. That's cool.
Yeah, they
too.
either don't cancel, you got the damage, and it's like, woo, that's fine. Or like at some point something cancel, you get a free extra attack. Really cheap
Well,
extra attack.
Yeah, compared to other ones, it is fairly cheap in terms of being a restand. And
That
the
seems
card
fine by
that you
me.
summon- I mean, the card you summon does have extra soul because the climax is a continuous type, unless your opponent's got like a Gilgamesh on the field or something. But at that point, you don't even get to.
The dream is to
Summon
trigger
it.
shot on the 3/2's attack, and then trigger shot on the 0/0's attack.
I mean, 8 shot is a deck people talked about. I don't know if it's a good deck, but
What rating are you gonna give it? L pros.
I think it's playable.
Okay.
alright, there we go. Playable. These guys. Next card is Yoko Super Galaxy Digerendon 00500. It's a stock bomb, so if your opponent, the battle opponent is level 0 or lower, you may stock bomb them, so put them in stock and swap out the bottom card of their stock. If they have no stock, then that means that card goes straight to the waiting room, basically.
But it goes in the stock first, and that's still relevant.
Yeah, it goes to stock first, then goes to waiting room, which means they don't go from stage to waiting room, which is relevant, I guess. And then it has the other ability, when this is placed from hand to stage, give a level 2 or higher character 3k power for the turn. I have surprisingly never had that first part come up for me, and I've played this card in 2 different decks, both of which I would assume have opportunities for this to come up for me. Yeah, no, it's just been a stock bomb for me. The first effect is nothing but gravy. It makes it a 500 power stock bomb, which means you beat things like what's her name? Kaban. Not that it's super relevant. But the real problem with this card is that you don't have a lot of space at 0 and Gurren Lagann. You've got you've got 4 to 5 plus in 0 slots. You've got 4 Rickies. You've got like 2 to 3, if not 4 ditch outlets. And at that point, you don't really have any room for this. And you're playing Booter because Booter's broken. You just don't have room for cards like this, especially when you also have to cram in like brainstorms and the like. So this is a casualty of opportunity cost rather than being a bad card or anything. And I do have it in various decks. It's like a playable card for me. There's nothing bad about it. It's perfectly serviceable. In fact, it's serviceable at level 0 and level 2 and 3, which is pretty impressive nowadays. But it's just not a card I want to put in my deck when I have so much else to fit in.
No
Like stock bomb. I don't know. Like I generally prefer having runners as well. So
Yeah. I think this is fine. I wouldn't criticize someone for putting this in their deck. Okay, that's card. Kid and IROC. 0015. Do I have to? God, I hate this so much.
Hey, it's a rare this time.
When this is placed from hand to stage, look it up to 2 cards from the top of your deck, put them back in the same order. That's fine. Like, can we just end it there? I don't really want to read the second effect.
Oh, you have to.
Alright. When this attacks, you may pay 1. If you do, perform trigger check twice.
What is that ability?
So this is what Vanguard players call Twin Drive.
Twin Drive?
And I'm going to refer to it as that anyway. Vanguard is a game with single-digit HP, so crits are super duper important there. Plus, they don't have the cancel mechanic, so triggering twice there is like probably several dozen times as impactful as triggering in this game. Like, I don't think that's an exaggeration. In fact, if anything, it's an underestimation. It does nothing in this game except help pay out a trigger. If you play this card, all I ever see happening is you knowing the next 2 triggers, and then knowing whether or not you're going to have to pay out a climax with this piece of crap. And even factoring all that in, you've got just as much of a chance as triggering a climax with this stupid double trigger twin drive as you do of having saved the climax. So it's like, who cares? This is not a card you would ever want to put in your deck for any real reason. It serves no purpose other than to scry 2 cards, and that is nowhere near enough to inch out all of the other utility I just talked about, much less like good utility or good cards, like plussing zeros. I am taking a stance. This is bad. It will continue to be bad until, like, in every deck except potentially a standby focus deck, and every other deck, it's just not going to be an effect worth anything. That's my soapbox. I'm done. You guys can rate it however you want. I'm calling it bad.
Playable minus.
Playable minus.
Playable minus is like a rating you give to a card you would consider putting in your deck if you needed the role.
Bad plus, whatever.
What role does this fill? It
Like,
doesn't do anything.
The role it's filling is stock out.
Yes. Also trigger information. I like that.
You're triggering me right now.
Come on, dude.
Yeah. Not really. Like I sound a lot angrier than I actually am. I just don't think it's a card you should ever put in your deck. So King Catan, it's a 2/5. If there are two or fewer cards in stock, it gains 1/5 power. It's a 4K. It dies to bombs. It doesn't die to 3/5s and lower. Perfectly serviceable. This is like actually probably playable plus.
Really?
I mean, it's a 4K that's just not going to die to anything except
Wait,
bombs,
do we have
right?
better? Do we not have better 4K? I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
We have a runner, and we don't have a better 4K.
Okay, well then I guess this is playable plus. Sure.
I mean, yeah, I played this 4K like this profile before. They're fine.
Played this Devil Survivor 2. It was fine.
Well, I played this also like in Nisukoi with the Sugumi.
It's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with this. Maken lived in Swordsman or lived in Field Swordsman 1035. It's level 1, not level 1. Cost 0 bomb, and it's a stock bomb.
It's all right.
So this was a level 1 bomb. It would be significantly better, right? Because then it would have application against decks like Standby SAO and Standby Saikano, and I guess like Attack on Titan playing the Sasha and crap like that. But as it is, like there aren't very many costless characters that you can't really get over with the aid of Buta. So in the end, this card doesn't really have a role, even though it's in the right color, even though it looks like it would be perfectly fine. It ends up being a bit lackluster because it doesn't really have a role. Like it's just you usually, like, the very next card actually just does the same role in most scenarios. If this card has utility, like it could be playable in the future, so I'm just going to put it as like a playable minus, but I don't think this card actually has any real strengths, so to speak. Like, it doesn't hit anything that you can't already kill with a Buta power up, or with Lagann giving you a pseudo Shimakai effect.
Can you kill Puck?
Can I kill Puck? Buta gives you 2K. Like Buta gives you 2K. You have any sort of support.
You would need.
You go to 9/5.
Well, Pucks can get to 10/5, so.
Okay, sure.
I'm talking about the build. I'm talking about the build that's maximizing Puck. So.
Okay, so Puck.
You need a 1K one, right?
Puck,
you probably need a 1K one. That's fine.
I mean, you're playing a 1K one, right?
Yeah. So 1K one gets you to 10/5, I think, right?
So 1K one. Okay, so 7K, 9K. What other supports? What other buffs do you have? 2 booters, I guess.
So
is 11K.
1/0 gets 500 for every, so it's 7/5 when you play it. Yeah.
Okay,
so
so
it'll be
we're talking
10/5
about
for the
sniping.
yeah. So 1K
Sure,
one.
sure. So 8/5.
That's fine.
Sure.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of
This,
where this would be
this
more
is
relevant.
a thing. Well, 7K protagonists is like they get to 9/5.
Sure. But...
I mean, Puck gets over. Not Puck. Yoko gets over that anyway. But
I mean, things that also things that like a regular level 1 bomb wouldn't like do anything against. So like ReZero, Idolmaster. There's not too much that's in meta right now.
It's literally what Idolmaster, Milky Holmes, and ReZero, right?
Yes. There might be some others. No. Yeah, but it's not. Those aren't popular decks at the moment. So.
Yeah. If it was level 1 or lower, I think it would actually be better. But,
yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Simply because I mentioned like standby stuff. Playable minus, it's fine. This is 1/0 Yoko. It's a sniper. And by sniper I mean assassin. And by assassin I mean it gains 500 times.
Let's call these snipers now.
I mean, we could. Her name is literally Sniper Yoko.
Sniper, no sniping.
It's okay. It's an okay card profile, right? It's pretty good with Buta, actually.
It is very good with Buta. Like, it goes to 7/5 if it's the last thing played. And you can play Buta beforehand. It's not an issue there. The problem is you can't have too many of this because, diminishing returns. If you have to field this before it being the 5th card on field, then it's only going up. Well, 7K is still serviceable, right? That's not a problem.
I mean, Buta kind of like flattens out like any problems you might have. I think with like reaching certain power levels. Like it's overkill. He's overkill in a lot of battles. So
agreed. But I do like what Boots can do is Boots can go on one of your Kaminas, and this is just like an 8-5, sometimes 9k if it's in the center, and it just kind of kills something. Whereas Kamina is the one that actually matters, and that's more than fine. It's enough to include it in any Kamina deck, and bonus points for being on color, because a lot of the other beaters you might consider are red, and therefore put a lot of strain on your color. I think this card is fine. It's like playable, but I mean that's all these cards ever are really.
Yeah, they're. I don't think they've ever been particularly exciting.
So Zorfi, this is the other contender for your level 1 slots in my opinion. It's a 105k. When it's attacks, give another Gurren Lagann character X power, where X is 500 times the number of your other Gurren Lagann characters. Now, the one problem with this being in anyone's I don't have this in my deck for a very simple reason. The level 0 bomb, Lagann, does this exact thing at level 0, fixing for red as well, and generally not providing an on-reverse target. And it's also a level 0 bomb, for whatever that's worth. So I would put that card up to 4 before I played any of this, and that's really the only issue.
Mm-hmm.
This is also not good with your trial deck combo with the double boomerang combo, because those require 2 colors. Zorfi's a different color, whereas the Lagann is level 0. So as a result, this is like I mean, the only niche this card has is the kids can fetch this card, but they can't fetch Lagann because that card cares about yellow characters. So this is like a niche minus, maybe, I don't know. I think that the Lagann just straight up outclasses it.
Sure.
Yep.
Alright, Leron, Chief of the Science Bureau, 2145 level support. And when this is placed from hand to stage, you may ditch your climax card from your hand. If you do, add a Gurren Lagann character from your waiting room to your hand. This is a pretty good card. It's like, I find myself playing a level support or a support in my deck a lot, because my level 2 is usually pretty depressing otherwise. And as a result, look, this is just a straight playable card. You can fix your hand with it. You can get back something that matters. It can be a counter. It can be the early play that you want to actually play out. It can be further hand fixing even. I have no issue with this card. It can be on my board for the rest of the game, and I'm not going to be too fussed about it. It is notable that I think most Gurren Lagann decks will want to run green for the level 3 Nia support, but I also think that that's not always a necessity, so this still has a role in even those decks. And playable is where I'm putting it.
Yeah.
Any objections?
No.
No.
I've just played this set, you guys, I'm assuming. Alright. Kinon, Secretary to the Second in Command, 001k assist, 500 in front. When another Gurren Lagann character is placed from hand to the stage, you may look at the top card of your deck, but you have to put it back where it was.
Hey, I remember this effect.
Yes. So, I mean, you can get your clutter out for me now.
Well, I mean, this is actually the Terraformers one. Usually, like, you get to actually scry when this is the profile.
Yeah, but this is leave on top. It's the same as the Bakemono Gatari Araragi, except that was global 500 in your turn. This is assist 500. The issue with this card is that it competes for room. I don't think this is better than the Married Life clone from the TD. I don't think this is better than the very next card, actually, which is actually kind of interesting. And I don't think this is better than... Go on.
Buta better than this card in the slot?
Yeah, I agree.
You
Buta's,
even...
like, you want room for Buta, and you want probably room for a Brainstorm, although Buta can give you room for that Brainstorm.
The only cool part about this card is that you can, like, check top, Brainstorm, then check top again. Like, you can do effect... You can, like, do effects in between, like, top checks, but I don't know if that's, like...
So it worked. It worked better in Terraformers because it was attached to a tap self Brainstorm.
And
it wasn't it wasn't particularly like impressive there. You literally ran it because it was the only Brainstorm you had.
Right. It's notable in Maids and like ReZero Maids because the finisher benefits massively from like a top check like this. There's no such like card that goes with.
I'm just gonna point out that Buta just does everything you said better.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
And like it okay, so the one thing it doesn't do better is if the card is a level 2 or higher and you wanted to trigger, then you're not going to get that trigger because it'll go to stock.
All
But that's
right.
arguably like that's pretty good in most scenarios. Um, this does let you keep that trigger on top, but I don't think that's nearly enough to warrant this being played. As a result, this is like a niche card. Like I think it's a fine effect. I just don't think it has.
I think
This
it
is
is
not a
niche.
this is not a get card you want to play in the high stakes world of modern white sports.
It doesn't really even like hedge you against bad luck. It just lets you know how fucked you actually are.
Right, and it doesn't. I don't think that information typically changes your decision making as far as like, do I brainstorm for the turn, etc.
Yeah.
Unless you had some way to manipulate that top card, which I don't think there's too much of that that's actually playable in this set.
There is there is one card that has top check ditch, but it has significant problems. Well, not top check ditch, it's top or bottom, and we'll get to it in green. But
Yeah.
Anyway. So the
Oh
next
wait, that card. Oh no.
It's I think you know what I'm talking about. Hey, it's reusable.
Oh
It
god.
is reusable.
Please.
Attenborough, 001k. It's another assist 500, and at the start of your climax phase, mill 1. If it's level 2 or higher character, give one of your characters 1 soul. This is actually really cool. I don't think it is good enough to put in your deck just because of the effects.
Man, it's mandatory.
Yeah, like I mean,
That's-
being mandatory is not that big a deal. Like, what?
You can
why
always
does that
pump
matter?
itself. Like it doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm just talking about like sometimes you just don't want to mill, but
Well, no, you can't pump yourself. It has to choose another character.
Oh,
But,
sure. Whatever.
you
Like
just pump it in the
whatever.
back. I'm just more referring to the sometimes you just don't want to mill. So
Yep. Okay, sure, but that specifically refers to times where you don't want to deck out, and that's like not actually that common.
well, sometimes you just don't want to mill like in second deck. Like
I don't think that matters too greatly. It's assist 500, not really a strong effect. The second effect is cool, but it's doesn't. I don't think it gives you enough equity over a game, even if you play it on turn 1, for it to really be worth it.
well, if you think about it, you would have triggered that level 2 card anyways.
Yeah, so you would have gotten a soul
Yeah.
anyway. So,
So the
more or
only
less, it's
yeah.
milling. It is just milling, and I don't think that's really effective. The
Oh,
thing
it
this
says
does
character.
open
I was
up
like,
is-
I had to double check to say it just said level 2 character instead of just level 2 card, because then like level 2 events could have soul triggers now.
This just seems like
yeah.
pretty. There's like just better things to put in your back row, I think.
Yeah, more or less. The same problem with like 3 other level 0s we talked about.
Yeah.
So, this is like a niche card.
Agreed.
Okay. Rossyu, Departing a Die Village. It's a 002k. When it's placed from hand to stage, give a Gurren Lagann character 1,500 power for the turn. So we've got a Pucci Mikan clone here. Even though we have a Shimikaze, we've got like 6 different ways to pump that card already. I don't think this is necessary.
No.
Like
Buta's better.
you've got Buta, you've got Lagan, you've got a Married Life clone. Like, there's really no need for this card. I wouldn't call this like straight up bad, but it is like playable minus. Like the benefit
That's-
this has, is
sure.
it can be a 3-5 beater, for example, but that's like,
Okay.
calm it down. If you are undecided, 003k. This cannot side attack, flavor, and when this is placed from hand stage, mill 2, and this gains X power, where X is 1,000 times the number of Gurren Lagann characters you mill.
Why?
You wouldn't play this. I've got it in like a waifu sort of deck, but
I'm
you
sure
wouldn't
you
play
do.
it otherwise.
Realistically, you'd rather just have the 004k in almost every situation.
No, like
Well-
if this is a 5k, it kills opposing 4ks.
Eh. if you
And then
actually
it
do
like
mill two
spawns
characters,
back
though,
in.
like sometimes you will mill over. I don't know. I don't know if you're actually playing events in this deck, but like events or climaxes. Actually, the best you can do is trade,
Yeah, look, I
and then
wouldn't play
importantly that
it. I don't.
you're still only 3K on your opponent's turn, so it's not like
Shit.
you're necessarily stopping their 4Ks from running you over.
3K on defense is fine.
Well, 3K in defense is like reasonable when people aren't actually playing oversizes, but like if oversizes are actually a thing again, like
Eh. I don't think you play this. This is mill, and the deck does sorely lack that. Um, but I don't think this is the sort of card you're looking for. It's like a playable minus, probably.
Yeah.
Like,
think
I
would
wouldn't
put it
fault
there,
you
too.
if you just wanted the mill. That's fine. All right, Jorgen and Balimbo. These guys are baller. It's a 0/0/3/5. You cannot play events or backups from hand, and at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you may pay 1. If you do, choose this and one of your Gurren Lagann characters, stand and swap them.
This is so cool.
It's interesting. I don't think it does anything.
it definitely
No,
doesn't do
it
anything.
doesn't, but it's really cool.
That's the thing, right? Like, it just doesn't do anything because if you have it in the front row, then what exactly, like, it has to be bigger than this card, but smaller than whatever you swap with. And at that point, you lose this card anyway, because this card's puny, so you're losing a card regardless. If you keep this in the back row and try to save something in front, then, like, I mean, I guess you could save a coming now. Oh my god, that's so terrible. No
Yes.
way.
Oh god.
No way. No way you do that. That's so bad.
Oh man. You could have a runner in the back and swap it with this. And then the runner moves. Does it? Or does it miss
Yes.
the check timing?
No, the check timing happens regardless because the runner,
yeah.
the runner in the back row can run to any
Yeah, front
empty
row
forward.
swap. Yeah. So you just swap it with
Um,
the runner to save the oversize.
I mean, the real application there is if this is the only card you have in the front row, and your opponent like fields an on reverse thingy, then you swap and run away from it. So it's as if you had only a runner, and you get the added utility of killing anything with more than 2k but less than 3/5 power. I'm gonna stop before my. We're wasting a lot of time on this card that's never going to see play. This is a niche card.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't do anything. Alright. Ayaka, ship's captain. It's a 2/1/2/5 counter, and when you use the counter, you may reveal the top card of your deck, give it to Gurren Lagann, add it to your hand, ditch a card from hand. We've been over this old, tired argument before. You're not really significantly increasing the chance you cancel, and it is just a counter. It's perfectly serviceable, it's playable.
Yeah.
Okay. Carmina, reject common sense to make the impossible possible. It's a 2/1/7k stock bomb. It's on trait, unlike the green clock bomb. Playable, I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you usually do have a way to power over most advanced summons if you're looping Buta like I tend to. You might not want to play a Climax Foes, so this is a fine way to just remove a problematic card. Okay. So this next card's the actual level 3 finisher. Have the 2-1 on the screen. So this is a 2/2/8/5 with the Climax combo. When this attacks, you may pay to ditch a card from hand. If you have the stock zone, the Climax zone, and 4 or more other Gurren Lagann characters, you may pay that cost. If you do, all your front row characters gain cancel burn, 1 instance of it. So the reason this card is viable at all, that's certainly not the card. So the reason this card is viable at all, as opposed to like the Mayoi version from Bakemonogatari, is because this card is actually like it doesn't look like it, but it's actually stock positive. Well, when I say stock positive, I mean stock positive to play. So it makes the cost much, much easier. The 2/1 itself, like I'll just from memory what it is. It's a 2/1/8.
6K.
Sorry.
When you play the stock soul.
When you play the stock soul, you put the 2/1 into stock, and then you put the 2/2 from your waiting room into that card slot. So you play the stock soul, you refund the stock that you used to play it. So this is effectively a 2/0 as opposed to a 2/2, which is a big deal. Like that changes everything. It's also like it stacks. So you attack one, then attack with another. The third one will have 2 instances of climax of cancel. Well, it and the third one will both have 2 instances of cancel burn. The third one can have a third instance if you want to pay to ditch a card. And as a result, that is the strongest finishing push that Gurren Lagann can muster. It's stronger than what most decks can muster in terms of finishing push. But the problem is it is pretty setup intensive. It takes up like 6 slots plus the climax slots. It's probably 8 slots to be quite, like, in all honesty. I have played this. It's been fine. It's ironic that the level 3 Yoko is your level 2 play, while the level 2 Yoko is your level 3 play, but let's disregard that for now. This is like a fine finisher. It's nothing super broken or anything, because the rest of the deck isn't super broken, but it's reasonably easy to set up, and I don't really have an issue with how it plays out. This is playable plus, I think. Like I think I have to give it that rating. I don't think it's so strong that you would play it without question, but I also think it's better than your average finishing combo.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's a very similar finishing profile, I guess, to Puyo, which, yeah.
No, it's more similar to Yami, because, well, I mean, I guess...
I could have sworn the Puyo one was give all...
Puyo one is, they get
one
cancel
gives
burn on play,
power.
right? So,
yeah.
If you have 3 RLs, you have 6 cancel burns.
Sure. This one just gives you 3.
Yes.
Or 4.
This will get you 5.
No, it gives you...
Well, yeah, and then to get 5, it's like a really obscene cost, I think. So,
5? No, you give 6.
Is it 6? Wait.
3.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
you do get the full 6.
It's 1.
Yeah, so it's...
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, so it actually is closer to RL than...
Yeah, but I'll cost a climax play. This costs like all of your resources.
Literally all of it.
Yeah. Also, harder to set up.
Yeah.
Triple this is actually, like...
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I've tried. Like, there are cards which make it a bit easier, but it's very difficult to get everything in the right place
It all
at once.
costs stock, though.
Yeah. I mean, stock is not a problem in this deck, I've found. It's usually cards in hand, which is the problem.
And this costs... This
costs
the card from hand, so...
Several cards from hand,
Yeah.
yes. Alright.
I'm gonna give it plus.
Playable plus is where I got it, because I do think it's good enough to build towards. Kino, Kiel, and Kiel, black siblings. Bonds to Kitan, black siblings. I don't really want to talk about what that card is. Choose one of your Kitan black siblings, and that card gains 2k power. This is bad. You can't see it on screen. I'm sure you can. The joke is that Kitan is a 1/0 vanilla. Kiao and Kyo, 0/0500. Up to once a turn when you use a startup ability, give a card 1000 power for the turn. This is like not insignificant. Like, you've got a 1/0 2k counter in your deck. So this can help it be a 3k counter, which is more than nothing. And then a very interesting effect. At the start of your main phase, you may sack this. So main phase, as in an entire turn loop has come around. It's been on the field through your opponent's turn and then back to your turn. You may sack this at the beginning of your main phase. If you do, add the 2/1 top check counter from your waiting room to hand. That's actually pretty interesting.
This is really
It's like
interesting.
yeah, it's like telling your opponent, I've got a 3/5 counter,
No,
so
well, this sacks itself.
Yes.
uh,
Uh,
that's true. Yep,
I
yep,
think
yep,
the
sure.
idea is just you use it, you get like value out of it for that turn cycle, and then you get like a counter.
Yeah. So it is an interesting defensive card, but it warrants it like it requires you to have be playing a bunch of other like you presumably are playing more than one copy of the 2/1 counter, and you presumably are playing like a field-based game in order to make the first effect relevant. And neither of those things is something I'm interested in doing, unfortunately. So while this is an interesting card, with like I want to see effects like this in the future, that require a bit more commitment and might be worth building towards. But as it is, the deck that the Gurren Lagann deck, any of the Gurren Lagann decks doesn't really have a reason to play this. It's like a niche card.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cute. Like I think it's a neat idea. All right. Mausha and Nakim, Yomako students. Oh god, the screenshot quality's going down. It's a 0015. It has Ditch Bonds to Yomako, new teacher, which is the 2/1 that combos with the 2/2 pseudo Yami thingy bob. And then pay 1, sack this. Look up the 4 cards from the top of your deck and add up to 1 yellow character you find there from hand to your hand. The rest go to waiting room. You don't need this to set up the Yomako combo. You have better ways to do it. You've got brainstorms. You've got the flag event, which we'll get to soon.
This is also off trade.
Yeah, it's off trade. It searches for yellow specifically, which may not mesh with a lot of what you're trying to do, especially given yellow is unfortunately quite limited in what it can ultimately pull out. And just like with Yami, you don't really need a ditch bond to your finisher. There's usually a way to get it. Especially not. Oh my god, they're both off trade, aren't they? Because what's her name? The sensei in Talaru was also off trade.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, just.
She was alien trait. But
For the record, tree climbing probably does power up Ash. It's not a trait I've seen before.
Tree climbing? Ooh.
I believe it's new.
Why do you think they have the bucket on them? Why do you think she has the bucket on her?
She went tree climbing, clearly. Anyway, this is a niche card. Niche minus might actually be more appropriate. Alright, Leron, Maiden's Heart, Gay Clown. 0025, Drop Searcher. When this is placed from hand to stage, pay 1, ditch 1. If you do, add a Gurren Lagann character from your library to your hand. You don't need this. You just don't need this. You've got better ditch outlets, you've got better stock outs, and combining the two is not something that you're really ever interested in. So it's like niche. I don't know, Tom's giving it like a playable plus meta. Good.
Wow, I'm giving it playable minus. Thank you very much.
You're a dank meme. Rename yourself to dank meme. Ross, you new commander in chief of the government. 103k.
Like yeah, I'm sticking to playable. It's a drop searcher. Like they're not good, but you know I'll play them.
All right. So this Rossyu is a dank meme.
Oh, it's this one. Oh god.
Yeah, when this is placed from hand to stage, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 0 or lower, put it into your stock. So yes, that is a possibly stock positive level 1. Much like Buta, except unlike Buta, it doesn't have any other relevant text. You may pay 1, put this into your clock, choose up to 1 Arc Gurren in your hand, put in any slot on stage. So Arc Gurren is a 2. It is a 2/2. Are you sure about that? Do you know what Arc Gurren does?
It's a 2/2 with 2 soul, dude.
It's a 2/2 support that gives 1/5 in front and gives like a married life boost when I think it's when you play an event or something stupid like that. I don't know, like it doesn't make sense. Either way, this card is garbage. If you're playing it, you're playing wrong. If you are playing Arc Gurren, you are going down the wrong path. You are taking the Rossyu path. Don't take the Rossyu path. Take the Simon path. This is like a. This is bad.
Yes.
Yes.
So Late, reliable mechanic, it's a 1035. During your turn, all your other Daigoren Dun characters gain 1k, and all your other Daigoren Dun characters gain 2 cost Encore. Okay, so we have plenty of power on our turn, like Buta, Drop Searcher, not Drop Searcher, Buta, my mind is blanking. We've got Buta, we've got Lagann, we've got Married Life, we've got Zorthi, if that's what you want to do. We've got freaking Leron, level 0. Like, we have so much stuff. This is not necessary. The second bit of text may as well not exist. Like, the amount of times you'll use it is like 1 in 100 games, if that. Okay, I'll be generous. 2 in 100 games. I would not play this card.
Mm-hmm.
I just would not. Bad. Well, I guess you could argue for niche, but there are so many ways to get power. Alright, Carmina. Men are about will. 104k. If you have another Simon Digging Holes, which is the draw brainstorm from the TD, this gains 3000 power. I play this in the pseudo waifu OTP deck. It is niche.
Yes.
It's a 107k. It's like actually not terrible.
It's pretty cool. Wait, so the brainstorm is a second effect, right?
I think it's a. I forget what it is, but it's not power related. I don't think.
You can give another character 1k power at the beginning of your climax phase if you have a Kamina.
Oh, damn. Well, I must confess I have the deck built. I've never played it, so I guess that's why I don't know the effect. This doesn't change anything about it. It's a 107k, perfectly serviceable in that deck. It's a it's pretty alright. It is niche. I'm not talking about this card.
Are you sure?
But those poor vanillas.
Okay. We'll just talk about this
I'm not
instead.
talking about. We've talked about this card already. It's a stock positive version of the 2/2, which then goes to shit because you pay like all your stock and hand. So it makes that card usable. If this card didn't exist, that wouldn't be a usable card. But it's still only functional. It's not like broken or anything. Yeah. All right. Next card is arguably one of the better yellow cards, Flag of the Daigorendan. It's a 2/1 event. Search your deck for up to 2 Daigorendan characters, reveal them, add them to your hand, and ditch a card from hand. So the thing I've used this most for is setting up the Yomako combo. So you get 2 copies of the you get like whatever you need to get in order to have 2 of the 2/1 in your hand, and then you ditch a copy of the 2/2 if that's what you need to do. And that's been pretty good for me. More importantly, there's a green card on the screen, and it's pretty important one. Coco G is a double drop salvage, costless, and serves as your best costless discard outlet in this set. And this is one of the cards he bonds to. I say one of the cards because he's a double ditch bond, which is cool. And this card is pretty decent. Like, yeah, you thin your deck by 2 cards. That's like worth more than nothing, but ultimately it mostly just sets up your end game turns, and I think that's pretty valuable.
It's a 1-stop +1. I've never
It's
been
not
that.
It's not a
+1.
+1.
It's a ditch card.
Oh, it is a discard.
played-
Okay, never mind. Yeah,
played
that would be
before.
like actually insane for this event.
Oh my
It's
god.
oh.
That'd be so.
But-
We're talking
actually,
about
just pay
Project Diva
search to-
territory.
You're pushing it. Actually, you are pushing to Project Diva territory.
I actually like
Yeah.
this kind of event profile though. Like I've played these before, and I've never been overly disappointed with those in decks. Like they're not phenomenal, but you know they're fine.
I really like this is bondable, honestly.
Yeah. It tends to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still only giving it like a playable because
It is just
that's-
playable, but
that is really all it is. But it does feel better than I'm giving the rating for.
Yeah. I think that's yellow.
That is yellow. So green is a bit of a meme fever dream, but we'll be back with it soon.